Good afternoon to all our listeners and viewers of the NDC Heartbeat podcast. We're happy to welcome you to another NDC Heartbeat episode for this beautiful Sunday afternoon in Grenada. What we'll be doing today is we'll be chatting with the PRO of the National Democratic Congress. He's also the parliamentary representative for St. George Northeast, and that is the Honorable Ron Redhead. So we'll be chatting with him shortly. He is making his way into studio. But in the meantime, what we'll do is to share with you one or two videos which are of great interest. So stay with us. Back with you in a moment.
Dear Kirani, it is with a deep sense of pride, admiration, and gratitude that I share this message with you. Today, I speak not only as the representative of the people of St. John, but as a fellow Grenadian who has witnessed your journey with awe and reverence. Your life and career have been nothing short of extraordinary, a beacon of hope and inspiration for our entire nation. From the moment you stepped onto the track, you have carried the red, green, and gold with a grace and dignity that transcends the sport. You have sacrificed your youth and endured many challenges that would have broken the spirit of many. Yet, you have emerged time and again, stronger, faster, and more resilient. In a world where fleeting fame often overshadows true greatness, you have shown us what it means to be a true champion. Your victories have not only brought home medals and accolades, but also a deep sense of pride and unity to our small island nation, leaving an indelible mark on our history. Kirani, you are more than an athlete. You are a symbol of what it means to dream big, work hard, and remain humble and steadfast in the face of life's greatest challenges. On behalf of the people of St. John and the entire nation of Grenada, I extend our deepest thanks to you. Your sacrifices and victories have not gone unnoticed, and for that, you are and will always be the legend.
You have chosen unity over disunity. You have chosen resilience, flexibility, inclusiveness, and strength over infighting, weakness, vacillation, or wish-washiness. You have chosen boldness and courage over timidity and the same old, same old. You have chosen positive change and transformation. You have sent a clear and resounding message to the tri-island state of Petite Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada that the National Democratic Congress is once more on the path of inspiring hope and belief in our people and in our nation. That the National Democratic Congress is once more on the path of beginning the process of creating a sustainable and brighter future for our young, vibrant, creative, and innovative population. You have recognized and honored and rewarded the tremendous contributions made by all of the NDC stalwarts. And for this superb choice, I say thank you.
Let me say it is really a great honor and pleasure to be at this third anniversary of the works and commitment of the Bain sisters. When the Office of Diaspora Affairs launched the need for Grenadians residing abroad to adopt a school, we did not realize that the response would have been so overwhelming. And when the Bain sisters approached me 3 years ago, I welcomed the opportunity for them to do just that. Let us give them a great round of applause.
I think they have set the tone. While it's very good for Windsor Forest, I urge, and that's why I call on the ambassador, not to keep it to ourselves, but to also share our experience, share what is happening in Windsor Forest, in Deer, in Laraland. And I want to see, sooner or later, we should be hearing something about Vincent's and Shanflow and Child Island and Dudman, all those areas. They must be commended for that initiative. Kudos to the Bain family, and I look forward to greater things to come. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the NDC Heartbeat podcast for this beautiful Sunday afternoon. And in studio with me is the PRO of the National Democratic Congress. He's also the parliamentary representative for St. George Northeast, the Honorable Ron Redhead. Welcome to the Heartbeat once again.
Thank you, Brother Terry, and good morning to all the listeners, both home and in the diaspora. NDCites, how are you doing?
All right. Well, this chair is becoming very comfortable for you.
Very much so, yes.
Absolutely. Without you, it almost looks different. Let's talk party matters for a short while.
Yeah.
How is the party doing and what's on the horizon?
Right. Well, currently things are going well in the National Democratic Congress. Our comrade party leader is in Canada, as you are aware. He was engaging Grenadians living in Canada as well, there for a few days to see how they are doing as well, and to see how we can continue partnering with our neighbors in the Northern Hemisphere. Essentially, the National Democratic Congress continues to grow. We are pleased to announce that we will be commencing soon the rounds of candidate selections for our upcoming general election. We are satisfied that we are doing the work. All constituencies have been active on the ground doing the stuff, organizing. There are only 2 outstanding constituencies to hold elections. With the National Democratic Congress, we have amended our 30-year-old constitution, and it now allows for 2-year terms rather than 1-year term to serve as the constituency executive. And so we are satisfied that we are introducing stability in our organization. We are satisfied that we are introducing growth, and people would have the opportunity to remain solid, so to speak, and share some comfort in getting work done. 1 year is not enough for a executive body or team to do any significant stuff, and so recognizing that we amended the constitution to provide for 2 years so that everyone will have an equal opportunity to make their mark, as they would say in St. Mark. And so that is going well. That process, as mentioned, will commence soon in terms of picking candidates and going through at least the rounds of interviewing, I should say, candidates for the upcoming general election. And so we are satisfied, Terry, that we have done the necessary work to get us to this point. All constituencies, as mentioned, are active. The Women's Arm, one of the most active arms of the National Democratic Congress, is doing its part. They held a post-breakfast and lunch fundraiser at Kirani James Boulevard post-Carnival. And so they really enjoyed it. All sorts of soca artists passed through, and different party members and so on, and they patronized. In fact, I have outstanding money for 2 tickets for so they did so well that
that is confirmation that they received payment.
Yes. So I am hopeful that I could give them that on Monday, God's willing. But all in all, we are satisfied that we are doing the work. And, 3 years ago, we entered into uncertain waters. 8 months having to form a new national executive body, have a new leader, and in 8 months, we were able to win a general election is not an easy feat. And so from then on, we have been progressing. In some instances, not entirely satisfied with the gray areas that we see, but we have been progressing so far, so good. And I think this is an opportunity to say confidently that we will break this cycle of being known as this one term. We are confident that we are doing the necessary things as a party to continue building the grassroots efforts. While we still could always do with a bit more oxygen, but we are not starving for air as we were in the past. We are managing pretty well, and we are doing it in a manner and fashion that all can feel involved, all including the chapters of the National Democratic Congress, the New York, the Canadian, the Toronto, the UK chapters. They have been making their contributions and making their inputs into a great number of things that is going on with the National Democratic Congress. Again, we are still not where we want to be, but we are satisfied that we are heading in the right direction.
Wonderful. Well, just this morning I was chatting with the caretaker, well, sorry, not the caretaker, but he is the parliamentary representative, man on the ground, so to speak,
right,
in St. Patrick West.
Yes.
And he's quite satisfied with the work that is being done in the constituency.
Yes.
And the representative is on the ground. I think they had 2 socials yesterday.
Yeah.
So,
right. They've been doing well.
Busy.
They've been doing well, and a number of activities are happening up there. The government of Grenada is doing from as far as Petit Martinique to as far as Maurice Bishop International Airport. We have been seeing infrastructure activity taking place all throughout the country. We are satisfied with that. We just concluded Spice Mass. Number of visitors, almost all of the shows were, if not sold out, but had high number of participants and patrons. We closed off the Active Conference, first introduced to Grenada, and we have completed a number of other activities which we are satisfied that is putting Grenada in good stead on the global market. And so we are confident that from an economic standpoint, things are going pretty well. The government of Grenada, through the Ministry of Finance, did announce that it is on track with its 2025 budget estimates. And so we remain focused on meeting the targets, ensuring that we are doing the stuff that is going to make our economy durable, notwithstanding the uncertainties that we face globally.
Okay. Now, there are a number of budget consultations coming up. And let me ask our IT professional, if he has it up there, he can pull it up. But what message would you like to send to the constituents, how they should act, what they should do, even what questions they should be asking?
Yeah. So I want to start off with St. George Northeast and encourage people to participate in these budget consultations. Because, Terry, part of the challenge is that we can't sit back and expect the professionals, the government, to know every single issue that has to be addressed. And then when the budget is passed, it's passed. Unless you have special allocation that you can transform to do stuff, it becomes awfully difficult. So sitting back and not participating is a no-no. I want to encourage every constituent, whenever you get the chance, participate online, attend the consultations, because that is how you're going to know what to say. For example, do we need to bolster our ability to be able to respond to disasters, whether it is fires, tropical systems, etc. Right. And how can we go about doing that at the grassroots level? Do we need to introduce, for example, local government throughout all constituencies? That is a conversation that we need to have. Certainly, this administration supports the, in a sense, second tier of leadership by empowering communities. And you have seen this in how we go about doing stuff in terms of giving small contractors empowerment to be able to do stuff that ordinarily you may pick someone high in. And so it is important for you to get involved in the day-to-day affairs, that is the budget of your country, because that helps to set the pace and so that it allows you to know where we are going. I think the most critical thing for us right now is that when you take the participation of the people out of the equation in anything, you don't really get something substantive. And so for us, as it relates to the budget preparations, it is critical to continue to encourage people to give their contribution, give their feedback, go out there and talk about issues that we believe need to be solved at the grassroots level, and give your input so that the Ministry of Finance could be adequately prepared in the upcoming years to come when we do budgets.
Great. Well, I see MacDonald College is scheduled for August 25th
Yes.
at St. Patrick. So for the folks out in that constituency, both East and West,
Both East
should
and West.
take this opportunity to go out there. August 25th, MacDonald College starts at 6 p.m. and will go up to 9 p.m. if necessary, or probably beyond.
Even beyond. Well, you know how we are in
Of course. And it's
that
important that folks really make an effort to go out to these budget consultations and express yourself.
Indeed.
Indicate what is needed, what is necessary in your constituency or in Grenada, as a matter of fact.
Indeed.
So it can be aligned with the government's policy and financial budgetary allocations and so forth. Otherwise, as you rightfully put it, you're the ones. We are the stakeholders,
Yes.
the nationals. So
Exactly.
we got to indicate what is needed.
Indeed.
All right. So I guess the ministry will give a full list. Okay, I see here St. Mark is on the 27th. St. John is on the 28th. St. David's on the 29th. Then on September 1st, you have at the St. George Anglican School, as in Tonga St. George. Then St. Andrew Methodist School, St. Andrew on the 2nd. On the 4th is Bishop College, Karakou. So folks need to get familiar with the listing and participate at the various constituency levels and so forth. Now, coming back to the party, you mentioned that there would be candidate selection. You care to share as to what extent is the process in arriving at,
No, well,
representatives?
much like we did the last time, every Grenadian who is confident that the National Democratic Congress is in fact the best vehicle and choice to take us into the future is free to join the political organization. Joining the political organization alone is not the automatic, because one of the things we want to encourage is that we must learn to work. I often mention this to a lot of people, that when the Honorable Prime Minister came into the fold of the National Democratic Congress, he didn't say, give it to me. He came in and he worked. And I think his lesson is that if you want to make a contribution and you are genuine about it, sitting behind the sidelines and waiting for somebody to pick you, so as they say, the duck lays the golden egg, is not the best option, because when you are faced with challenges, you may not be able to carry on. And so we want to encourage a cadre of workers in the National Democratic Congress and people who are confident that the NDC is the vehicle, and also confident in the belief of all people to build our country in a fashion that we are satisfied can take us into the next generation and the future, really, as to where we need to be as Grenadians. So that process is going well. I would leave it as a surprise who we'd start off with, but certain people can imagine the person in the political leader and prime minister of this country speaks democracy, and he is very firm and strong on that, and even subjects his own self to a review, and is not a, the approach is not dictatorial, but it's genuine democracy, and he believes in doing and leading by example, and soon you'll hear the announcement as the time goes on. But it's going pretty well. And as mentioned, I encourage Grenadians, young as well as not so young, to feel free to join the National Democratic Congress, become a member, and see how you can make your contribution even to the highest level of serving your country.
Well, what is interesting is that you hear some folks would approach you and say, I think I would want to be this, person, that person, I want to represent this constituency. And the first question, are you a member of the party? No, I'm not a member. I say, well, first things first.
Yes. You have to, what I would say is that you have to creep before you walk, in principle.
Absolutely.
But understanding that, politics is a fluid thing, but there are some basic stuff that you must do, and one certainly must be that you want to join the party.
Well,
Become a
as
member.
Lotto would say, you have to be in it to win it. If you're not in it, how are you going to get there?
Yes, definitely. So that's what we encourage. Join the National Democratic Congress.
Absolutely. And then from your works,
Indeed.
thou should be seen.
Indeed.
All right. St. George Northeast, how are things going up there?
Now we're going pretty okay. We are thankful that so far, so well, we do not have any major disaster as it relates to the hurricane season. We fared pretty well during the height of, well, if at all, we had the dry season. But I don't think we had such a difficult dry season this year. So we fared pretty well as it relates to that. In fact, it has allowed us to be able to reach our peak in terms of the flood mitigation programs that we've had ongoing. We have been assisting with educational support to almost every constituency who comes. And I'll tell you this story. Sometimes people wonder how I do it, but I do it by networking. There are ministries, departments, different private sector groups, associations that can assist people to further their education. And what I have been doing as a member of parliament is to be able to find out all those avenues and knowing how to leverage it so that my constituents can benefit in whatever way that is necessary for them to advance themselves. I believe in building a cadre of well-educated St. George Northeast individuals, particularly the young people, and ensuring that when they complete their education, they can come back and make a genuine contribution to the development of our constituency and by extension Grenada. And so I've been prioritizing that. We have also been assisting on the social front, and I could say from a small business standpoint, we have worked with several young people to be able to register businesses and go into the world of work, professionalizing their service and their skill so that they can earn an income out of it. It has not always been easy because part of the challenge is that although some of the young people would want to earn money, the hard work to earn that cash sometimes is very difficult for some to do. And so, I am not a professional coach or advisor, so I would not always be able to advise them in the best way. But the few who find it difficult to continue, we always often try to get help for them. And in a sense, rehabilitation, making sure that they stay the course on some genuine dollars and don't fall by the wayside and maintain and be a productive citizen. So things are going well in that respect. I think as it relates to fulfilling our agenda, we have fulfilled the agenda. There is only one outstanding area that we would like to fulfill for this term, and that has to do with the School for Adolescent Mothers, that's SPAM. We're still working with the relevant stakeholders to be able to get this place renovated first and foremost, and then get it back up and running in a more modified, transformed fashion. That is still outstanding, but by and large, all the other stuff that we had campaigned on, Terry, in St. George Northeast, we are either starting or completed. And so we are satisfied or have them ongoing. And so we are satisfied that we are doing the necessary work and ensuring that we meet the targets. It's easy to get distracted because sometimes people, for various reasons, would come and try to get you distracted. But I think we've been staying the course. Just last week, Wednesday, I held a visit with the Ministry of Infrastructure, the Permanent Secretary, the CTO, my road officer and myself, and some other infrastructure staff, the Cuban engineers and so on who attended. We were able to observe firsthand and talk through the upgrade of the Tempe roundabout area. This is something dear to me because I want to see the community of Tempe become a modern city within St. George Northeast. I would like to see further amenities. So this is an open call to all business places, private sector interest. If you have any interest to open shop in St. George Northeast, come, let's talk. The government is certainly willing to collaborate with you so that we could create business opportunities and continue fulfilling our mandate to create more jobs for people within our constituency.
Great. The Tempe playing field. Some time ago you indicated that something was going to be happening there.
Right.
What's the latest there?
So good. Thank you. So we're looking at the widening first of it. I think we have held back simply because of the large amount of factors that we have to take into consideration that needs to be addressed. One critical one is a bypass. So while we would want to do the widening of the road near to the playing field, a critical thing is to make sure that all bypass routes are up and running and have been, in a sense, corrected. We are working on one that's up by Roger Barbecue to make sure that it is functional. We have advanced. The work is about 50% completed. We needed to redo some or modify it somewhat simply because a few residents had some change of heart in terms of running water back down at their property, but which augured well for us because we were able to use the skill of the engineers at the Ministry of Infrastructure to really bring home a redesigned product. And so we are satisfied that in looking at those, then we would be able to give the attention fully there. We have scheduled, I spoke with the Minister of Youth and Sports and Mental Wellness, Honorable Delma Thomas, only recently, to discuss the commencements of the installation of the playground there. And we are going to complete the upgrade of the playground at the St. Paul's Community Center. We just have a few kinks that we just need to sort out in terms of cost and who exactly would have completed the work. That was outstanding for the one in St. Paul's, but that should be commencing shortly. And so we are satisfied that as a community, the final thing we would like to see for Tempe is for it to get a modern community center. And we would like to have some pavilions at Tempe so that people can be rested comfortably and utilize the field to its fullest potential. So by and large, we have been discussing with different individuals, different stakeholders, different ministries and departments to be able to have that completed, not in shortest possible time, because Terry, I want to be realistic too. Some of these projects would take a little while longer to implement simply because of the limited availability of resources. That is manpower one, and certainly we need to always juggle finances to make sure that we are doing priority areas as well as ensuring we are investing in recreational facilities.
Right. Now, explain to the listeners, and in particular the folks out in the Tempe area, when that field on road, etc., is being completed, what are the expectations?
Well, the expectation is that we continue to speak about widening. We have a problem in terms of every morning. Well, when school reopened, I'm really worried as to how it's going to look. But the widening of the bridge, for example, at LA Law was the beginning of ensuring that we continue to enhance and transform our communities and make it easier for road users, both vehicles and or drivers and pedestrians. And when that is completed, we are going to see congestion build up there. As mentioned, we are doing some of the bypasses as well. And so once those bypass areas are completed, the ability for two vehicles to pass, and two of the smaller kind, not the big trucks, it may be somewhat still difficult for the big trucks to really use those routes on a morning. So it is something that is going to go a very long way in easing the traffic congestion and the build-up. What I would also like to encourage residents to do is, at best, always think about the road. And so I say this to mean when you're parking, try your best to park on the side or within your property, because it makes it very difficult. And this is something that we honestly need to look at. I have friends who do it, and I'm calling on them to please consider what your MP is saying.
You go only whistle, you're in calling names.
Of course, right? But, please consider parking up the vehicles out of harm's way, one, and also, at best, on the property to which you occupy, because it's very difficult sometimes for keeping the smooth flow of the traffic along the way when we go throughout the constituency. And this is true throughout Grenada, I think. You know, we have to be honest. Again, I'm not accusing anyone off the top of my head, but it's just to say that, you know, majority of people practice this, and it's something that we need to be considerate about so that we can always encourage a smooth flow of traffic. So that is certainly something, the congestion in Tempe, that we really need to rectify. The other thing that once the area is up and running is that spirit of community engagement. A few years back, we introduced what is called the St. George Northeast Food Festival. We made a trial of it. It's something that people are interested in. You have a lot of, you know, cooks, chefs, call them what you will, culinary people in St. George Northeast who could do wonders with food. And as such, we want to be able to harness that potential because, as you know, cuisine is part of our culture. And this is something that we need to invest in a little more. It is lucrative because at the end of the day, everybody must eat. And of course, when the food tastes well and is also nutritious, it is a plus. So this is something that we want to encourage more chefs and people involved in that sector to be able to do. And we want to introduce it there. So we need to have the community center because we need to plan this every single year. We need to have amenities so that children and families can come around whenever we're having that, and we can be able to host things like that in a massive way. So we are satisfied that in that community, we are making some strides and important headway.
So with the issues you mentioned about the road, you have wardens out, especially on busy days, to help?
Not all the time. The RGPF, once it has the space, would normally send, but it's something that we are very much concerned with. We continue to call on all well-meaning Grenadians to observe the traffic codes when driving along those areas. So just to keep the traffic flowing, as smooth as possible. And wherever the RGPF traffic department can help, we encourage them to do that.
Well, and there are individuals, I'm sure within your constituency and throughout, they're like warden enthusiasts. They love directing traffic. You don't have to pay them nothing. Just give them a white gloves.
Or maybe
and they do it very effectively.
A little volunteer program.
Very effectively. So a volunteer program can work well.
It will go a long way.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, let's talk about some of the government's accomplishments. And more recently, for example, we start off with the digging of the road to put in these large water pipes. So back in a moment.
Climate change doesn't adhere to a specific time frame. It fuels multiple hazard events, from hurricanes and flooding to heat waves and landslides. These events may occur back-to-back or simultaneously, creating compounded risks for our communities. Preparedness must go beyond one season or one threat. Preparedness must be year-round and multi-hazard focused. Preparedness is resilience. Preparedness begins with you.
A message from the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA.
Welcome back to the NDC Heartbeat podcast. In studio with me today is the PRO of the National Democratic Congress and parliamentary representative for St. George Northeast, the Honorable Ron Redhead. So when we went on the break, I indicated that we would talk about some of the government accomplishments over the last 12 months or more recently. And this water project, tell us about it and where is it heading to?
First off, Terry, I want to say that I think as a party, we need to commend the government for making strides in improving the water quality and improving the general water sector in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And the first thing I want to start off with is identifying that which was an elephant in the room, in which NAWASA itself was the body setup, and it was providing the service and also regulating itself. And we were able to change that through legislation. So this was a good legislation which was passed in Parliament only recently to be able to separate the role and function so that when it comes to regulating, whether it is by cost or otherwise, you have a separate body doing that, and water is being supplied through NAWASA. And so that is going, or rather proven, to be a very progressive move. The second has to do with how do we develop the sector, and the upgrades were critical. For many years, there were talks about the project. But as in the past, or done in the past, it was more fluff. Just, always to just show that things are happening. I think with this administration, we are getting things done. And this is something that we are confident will go a long way in improving the quality of water consumed by consumers. It will help. There were some studies I looked at when I served in the Senate, which suggests that poor quality prepared water can contribute to carcinogens and can enhance cancer in the cells of human beings. And so it's a pleasing, very welcomed project that is ongoing right now. I think it started down at Morris Bishop International Airport. It is replacing a lot of these outdated pipe fixtures and replacing them with new ones and wider ones.
So from much 2 inch to 6 inch.
Yeah,
it makes a big difference.
But I want to give a friendly complaint. That upgrade of my area, for example, all the pipes up Mongi just started popping.
Wow.
So we've had to deal with the fallout of the mains. The water pressure is so nice and heavy.
Parasympathetic systems in place.
Well, that's part of it. So homeowners need to be on their P's and Q's, and if you have to do necessary upgrades to your own residential fixtures, please be mindful and do so. Those coming up the Monge side, I don't know about the other areas, but certainly it has been a travesty.
Wow.
Some of the pipes been popping off, but
so the pressure is too high.
The pressure seemed to be a little too high for us at the moment, but we're managing.
So in other words, you can't take the pressure.
Well,
it's a good pressure to have.
It's a good pressure. Well, you know what they say, water is burst pipe.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have that project ongoing, and we are satisfied that it is being implemented through NAWASA, and it's going pretty well. We are, again, satisfied that the implementation rate of a lot of these outstanding projects have been improved. Terry, we would never get everything right. There's no perfect administration in the world. And there's no perfect administration that will come and be able to just wave a magic wand, because this is life and it revolves around working along with people. And so we have different stakeholders, both local and international, that we would have to engage in to be able to get stuff done. But this administration is keen on ensuring we implement. Another project that I want to dive into is that project up on the fort, and the tremendous benefit that this project will bring to the local community there. There's going to be included an opportunity to have bars, food spots, recreational facilities, so that people, when they come and they visit from a historical standpoint, can also patronize. And so I am almost certain that a local food vendor or somebody is going to get there. Think of it. I could remember the Carriacou Petit Martinique. One of the food vendors up there who lost their shop due to Hurricane Beryl, he went on to New York to be able to make a little extra money. So think about it, if somebody like him would be able to open an outlet up there when the tourist season is active and so on, and it can help to export Grenadian cuisine out to the world. And so we see the ability and opportunity to seize these critical moments so that Grenadians can benefit. So we're not just doing projects for the sake of doing projects because it's on the books or we get our money to do it, but it has this lasting impact. Another project that I want to talk about is the project that is going to be able to open the cultural park down at the old site for the Silver Sands Phase 2.
Yeah.
The government has been able to renegotiate and repossess this property peacefully. You don't have to say nothing about nobody to get it.
Okay. And that's the property that's in boundary with the Radisson Hotel and Cameron Park.
That's correct. And so we are going to have our Heroes Park there. So plans and steps are on the way. It's being cleaned up. In fact, I didn't know we had so much land there until they started cleaning it.
It's a large piece of
you know, very, very large piece of property there. And so it will go a long way for preserving Grenadian history and identifying some of our heroes and icons. And these are well-meaning community-level projects, notwithstanding that they have international funding that might be associated or co-financing that might be associated with them. They are well-meaning, and it's for the benefit of the community and the country at large. So as mentioned earlier on, I think that the government is doing a wonderful job. There are gray areas, as with everything in life, but we are satisfied that they have remained focused and steady on the course.
Well, that particular plot of land, as you just expressed, serves so very well for the African Caribbean Conference.
Yes, for parking.
For parking and stuff like that. And then I realized thereafter for Carnival, it also played a very important role.
Yes, yes.
Bands were assembling there and
yes,
that
indeed.
sort of stuff.
Yes,
so
indeed.
could you imagine when the rest of it is cleared?
Yes, indeed.
I hope that the front area will be kind of a left
reserved for
all these kind of activities that may pop up from time to time.
Well, budget consultation is coming up, so...
Well, yeah, absolutely. So folks in the South need to be there when it's happening.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be a fantastic project. Would there be an opportunity for folks in the South in particular to make contributions towards the architectural layout and design of this particular park?
Well, if I have been able to observe the operations of MP Honorable Andy Williams so far, I would say yes, without him
confirming.
Yes, without him confirming. But what I would say is that the style of the government is always to engage, and in whatever we do, we often try to get the people's input first and foremost. Many of the solutions that exist is not going to exist within a politician only. I think that's a mistake most people have made over the years. And so the constant engagement doesn't mean that people would always agree with you, but at least you would be able to get their input, and it helps to make for a more refined and better defined product. So we are confident that that level of engagement could exist for a project like that, indeed.
Okay, now the flooding situation in the South still exists to an extent. There have been some corrective measures, but not sufficient. Anything on the books for a massive upgrade of the area down there?
Right. So MP Andy Williams did mention on 2 occasions that they have completed the strip of road between Monrouge playing facility and I think Courts Limited is there, KFC and the mall.
Right.
Right. And so work is ongoing there. What I do know is that there have been some cleaning taking place of the drain. The number one issue, when I served as Minister of Sports, the number one issue is that it backs up. And so there are opportunities to look at maybe providing a long-term contract for someone to do the cleaning periodically so that it is maintained, especially with the sand, it creates a blockage constantly. I have to always monitor it. But I mean, again, the community there seem to be a resilient community, particularly led by business people. And I'm certain they would welcome any easement of the flooding in the area, and it's something that the MP and the government of Grenada is working on.
Great. Well, it's good to know that somebody will be contracted to do, because at the bulkhead there, the sand gets in there and clogs the drain from its natural flow.
True. Well, just for correction, I didn't say that somebody will be contracted, but I know
there must be.
It is being looked at.
Because this was done, I mean, under Gary's regime.
Right.
Someone was dedicated to doing this.
Right.
And it worked.
It worked.
It worked. So we need to get that person, moving again.
True.
Yeah. All right. So what else would you like to share with us? Because there's been so much happening in government, sometimes it overwhelms you.
Yeah. Well, what I would say, as it relates to government's own preparation for the upcoming budget, we have been discussing the economy. And as mentioned earlier on, I talked a little about government being on target with its 2025 budget, budget estimate, sorry. Now, I want to say to all the listeners, ignore some of the noise that you hear out there, right? About we collecting less revenue and so on. The comparison between this year and last year is almost chalk and cheese. But Terry, one of the reasons why we had a spike in revenue collections is because we had a massive backlog of CBI applicants, right? And there was the stoppage of the processing of Russian applicants throughout several CBI programs in the Caribbean. Particularly in the OECS, right? To be able to treat with all this backlog, what Grenada did, which was the only territory to do that, was to say that we will process all the backlog up until a point. So we dealt with it as a bulk. And so this contributed, so to speak, to finding this increase in revenue. There was also an opportunity where IMA transitioned into IMA, and it introduced a new and more efficient system. So that helped to process the backlogs even faster. And so you had that spike in the revenue that came from IMA. That is well documented, it's well established. But to any serious thinking person, they would understand that 2024 was just an outlier in terms of revenue collections. And that as we get back to normal figures, you are going to have a stabilization of the revenues. What is most important is to ensure that the revenues that were estimated for 2025 is either on target or close to it. And in this instance, it is above it. So we are performing well in the context of the 2025 budget estimates that were announced. Right. That's one. And that's particularly for revenue collections. Two, as it relates to the deficit, in terms of the exact figure projected, 32 point something million, and what should have been, at least for this time of the year, what was projected, we are well on that, right? And it is proven to be one of two things. One, either the government is managing the economy at the point where we are not seeing the quote-unquote wastage that some people seem to be talking about. And two, the management of expenditure in particular is being controlled by the administration, because it is not going about in a loose fashion. The other thing is that more opportunities are coming for Grenada. So you saw the high turnout in Spice Mass, and of course the benefits that it will bring to the economy there. We still have some work to do in terms of costing that out. That is something that we are always finding difficulty in terms of the real impact of Spice Mass. But by and large, this year in particular, I think that we saw a very high impact from the Spice Mass. The artists, the songs, they seem to be reaching very far.
By the way, I mean, has the police estimated what the crowd numbers are like? They're good at doing that.
Right. Well, I didn't see it.
Shared that?
They are good at doing it, but I didn't see it, so I wouldn't want to venture into that. But I do know that we had large crowds.
Oh yeah, huge.
In many instances. And so the moral of it is that the government is on track. Things are happening. We do have threats, external threats, which is largely out of our control. So, for example, one of the threats has to do with the high cost of imported goods. It's something that all Caribbean territories, and I must say the world over, is dealing with. And coming from COVID, the Ukraine-Russia war, that created a spike in cost of goods. And so it's something that we are always mindful of, and we are confident that building out our own ability to feed ourselves is going to go a long way in helping to reduce that overall cost. And the final thing I would say on the economy is that of gas price. Terry, the cap was removed and we also reduced the petrol tax.
Yeah, petrol tax,
right, on gasoline. And so far, we are seeing average figures of about $14. A stark contrast to 3 years ago, which our average figures were certainly 15 and up. In fact, at one point, gas prices were as high as $17.
Yeah.
Right? And so we see a tremendous leveling off, so to speak, of the high costs. It is something that is still subjected to external factors. And I want to caution that it always fluctuates every 18th of every month. However, by and large, the trend has been going down, which is going to augur well in terms of public transportation costs and general cost of living for people. Petrol plays a very important role in moving goods and services in and around an economy. And the lower it is, the better in this instance. Again, it is largely influenced.
Has there been, or is there going to be a comparative analysis as opposed to now the removal of the taxes on petrol as opposed to keeping it? How does the financial comparative analysis shows, or is there a study to show what is the
well, as PRO,
comparative
I am
situation?
compelled to say that I would have to send that to the Ministry of Economic Development, who naturally would deal with statistics, data, and that sort of thing.
It would be interesting to
yeah, it would be interesting
determine,
to
because
see.
the more you purchase could very well show a balance as opposed to if you keep the tax or you relieve that burden.
Correct. And that's the point I want to make. So what we have seen in the last 3 years is that while everything may not have gone according to how we expected it, because these things largely deal with forecasting, economic forecasting, and therefore it is subjected to influences, both internal and external. And while we may not be satisfied with how everything went, but so far as it relates to that particular initiative that we have taken since coming into office, we see a very clear path of a downward trend of the cost of gas prices. This is something that we believe augurs well. And once it continues, we are satisfied that it will equate into more money in pockets of Grenadians.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Now, you mentioned earlier on, just a short while ago, about the CBI IMA program. And I saw a report coming out of, I believe, was it CARICOM or through the region, indicating that there is a very positive spike with applicants from the United States and other countries wanting Caribbean citizenship by investment. What are your thoughts on that, and what is spiking that?
All right. Well, it's an interesting conversation. I think, you know, the experts are going to be the ones best suited to explain it. But what I would say is that it augurs well. There are concerns, naturally, with citizenship by investment programs that this administration has done a number to almost reverse. Now, note, when we came into office, we made it abundantly clear. And so, in fact, myself and the Honorable Prime Minister sat on a GVN program and said that we were not against CBI. What we were against was the misuse, the abuse of such a program. And rather than not seeing it fitting to utilize it in a more productive fashion to be able to build economies. So I could go just recently, IMA is sponsoring PAN groups. IMA is sponsoring educational programs. IMA is sponsoring a lot more things than I had imagined it. Well, they're not competing. But the point is, that is what you want to see. Not the fact that it has potential to generate revenue, but the revenues are being utilized to build our economy.
But the revenues which IMA/CBI gets, it goes into the transformational fund. So I guess all that is being used for transforming the society and the social upliftment and so forth of communities.
And that's the point. So I'm saying, as a party, we maintain that we believe in exploring opportunities that are going to bring benefits to our country. And wherever there exists, no matter how risky it is, because business in and of itself is a risk, you must be able to put the necessary measures, stopgap measures, etc., in place to be able to take full advantage and exploit its resource or opportunity where it may be. So that's my response. I would leave the figures and all the other things that you spoke of to the professionals, but what I would say is that where we sit in Grenada, we continue to benefit from it, and it has been able to assist in a number of programs. Take, for example, the Monkuma Road, for example. The reason why we were able to pay for its pavement when we came in was from CBI, and to be able to complete that job in record time as we met it.
Yeah, and it's important that national citizens understand the importance of CBI. It's not just a Grenada program.
Yeah.
It's all over the world.
It is.
The US offers it, Canada offers it, UK, the rest of the Caribbean and so forth. It's not a matter of selling passports. It's a matter about inviting investors to invest.
Correct.
And they can do that by making a financial contribution to the Government Transformational Fund, or they can purchase a unit in an approved project by a developer and obtain in the process a passport.
Correct.
And, it's a sizable sum of money to be paid.
Correct.
Now, coming out recently, there's a report indicating that there's approximately 1 million, either 1 million or 1 billion persons so far immigrants have been exported out of the United States. And I'm kind of wondering whether if CARICOM is paying very close attention to what is happening in the United States and how it may affect the Caribbean in a positive way. I mean, these are folks looking for second destinations, second homes and that sort of thing, and looking for opportunities themselves. They are leaving the US, or they've been asked to leave, and certainly they come with talents, with skills, with resources, etc. And I'm wondering if we shouldn't be looking at that closer in tapping into it.
Right, and I think the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Economic Development, and the Honorable Prime Minister himself always mentioned that we need more people in Grenada working, paying taxes.
Our population is just too small.
It is, right? Yeah. So I think that's a conversation that we need to constantly have. Your office, certainly I think as a diaspora ambassador, is proven useful to be able to tap into that. We have all these chapters. How can we be able to say that we need people to come back and contribute to the Grenadian economy and live in Grenada? Again, the hospital project is going to help fill that critical gap and concern that many Grenadians have, which is the question of the quality of healthcare that exists. Would I be comfortable coming back home, bringing my talents, treasures, and being able to get good quality healthcare? So that ties into why we need to pursue it. And so it is not vai-que-vai. I think from the onset, Honorable Prime Minister mentioned that we have two options. We would either deal with an economy that we just get up and say whatever happens, happens, or we sit, we plan, we work together, and we make it a reality. And I think the latter is better in this instance, because it is going to prove that we will be able to exploit and benefit from these opportunities that are coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the hospital project, Hospital Polaris, which is really quite a project that is so, let's say, it's showing its head as so creative, so imaginative. The rest of the region is watching Grenada very, very closely to say, look, as though you fellas want to take over from the big boys. Because if you can provide top-class medical care, really, this is all that matters in life.
Right.
Health.
It is.
Your health is your wealth. And if we can do that successfully, it will attract a lot of not just Europeans, North Americans, but even West Indian, Caribbean people themselves to come to Grenada, spend their money, get top quality health care, and even probably reside here.
That's the point.
So there's an opportunity of population expansion, which would help to bring costs of living down.
Yeah, that's the point.
The more people
paying taxes is going to go a long way. So that's the point. There's a correlation. So when we talk about really reaching the pinnacle and being able to reach a peak to which Grenada or Grenadians can see and achieve, that's all part of the conversation. Vision 75, we are keen in ensuring that we do build this out, and we continue to ask Grenadians for the chance and the opportunity to do just that.
Absolutely. Well, the rest of the region is looking at Grenada with eagle eyes.
Yes, indeed.
Well, time has certainly caught up with us again, so let me invite you to make your closing comments.
Well, thank you very much, Brother Terry, and I want to encourage all Grenadians, home and abroad, to continue contributing to the National Democratic Congress. Ensure that you register, become party members, and the critical thing, ensure that you register and become voters in the general election. I think it's critical because voting is one part, but this political organization is willing to provide you with the opportunity, and I dare say the space, where you can make your contribution in a meaningful way. So continue to stay tuned. Honorable Prime Minister is out. I think he's scheduled to be at Carfesta
in Barbados.
And should be back shortly. So you'll be able to see some cultural presentations there and hopefully get a taste of the Bajan culture, which he is aware of because he studied there. So
indeed.
Yes, so I would like to just wish all Grenadians at this point, Terry, a wonderful Sunday evening and continue working with your government and party.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for being part of the Heartbeat today, and let me thank you, the listeners and viewers, and to invite you next Sunday when we have another equally interesting and stimulating conversation to share with you. So thanks for being part of the Heartbeat today, and continue to enjoy your Sunday afternoon. Have a great one. Goodbye.